Oui, donc bonjour à tous, excusez-nous.
Well, hello everybody. Sorry for this. So we have to project my presentation. Indeed, we are talking about the energy efficiency for construction. But as it was said before, first of all, I suggest we look at the Guadeloupean context and then have a look at the actions implemented in favor of the energy efficiency in Guadeloupe that could be duplicated in all the Caribbean region because we have the same obligations, the same climate, and we can compare the different states. So for Guadeloupe, you can see here the profile of the consumption for primary energy and also for the whole territory. What we can observe in 2022, these are the figures of 2022. The consumption primary energy was a bit more than 9,000 gigawatts per hour. This was due mainly to two items of consumption. First, transportation. It's 2/3 of the energy consumptions of the territory, and electricity, representing more or less 24% of this final energy, which is less positive on this electricity field. In 2022, we could count 35% the share of renewable energies in the mix in Guadeloupe. So some progression, and by 28 and 33, we should be close to 100% of the mix. Now, if we make a focus on the evolution of the electricity over the last few years, we can see that between 2000 and 2010, Guadeloupe faced a decrease of the electricity increase of from 4 to 6% each year. From 2010, it was average flat. We succeeded thanks to all the actions we did by different players and partners and stakeholders on the territory. It's quite flat, around 100 and 700 gigawatts per hour. And over the last 3 years, it is decreasing gradually on our territory. So as I said before, this is necessarily correlated to all the initiatives we implemented on our territory for energy efficiency, like deployment of actions to master control energy consumption with equipment, isolation, solar protection of the roof, and also with new rules that Guadeloupe could implement on its territory on energy efficiency in Guadeloupe. I will talk to you afterwards about the different rules for new buildings and existing buildings. If we can make a focus on the electricity mix of Guadeloupe, as it was said before, in 2022, the renewable energies represented 35% of the electricity mix of Guadeloupe, thanks to biomass and also local energies. This is important. We have a strong proportion of local energies in our electricity, with the wind energy and the photovoltaic branch, and also the geothermal branch. And as Mr. Bernard was saying before, for geothermal energy, the ambitions of development are very strong by 2028 and 2033. In other words, nowadays, from next week, the regional collectivity of the territory will adopt a project of programming energy on several years. It's a framework decision. Through the different works we did, we could project what could be the energy mix by 2033. It would be 100% of renewable energies. First of all, biomass, with a stronger integration of geothermal energy, 14% of the mix, plus other branches of local production, non-steerable, like the wind energy and also photovoltaic energy. A small focus now on the way we consume electricity on our territory. You should know that in Guadeloupe, we have a lot of houses and residents. It's half of the electricity consumption. Now, if we look at how this consumption is made in the different houses and flats, air conditioning, first, it's 1/3 of this electricity consumption. Then food code for food and other items linked to multimedia. These figures have to be updated, as Mr. Gilles Guérin mentioned before in his presentation. I can say that the trend of evolution in the future is evolving thanks to all the actions, incitative actions implemented by the different players, like bonuses, and the item of electricity consumption linked to air conditioning is decreasing drastically. We will see the figures later on. From now on in Guadeloupe, the majority, we are installing refreshing equipment with an A3 plus energy class versus 10 years ago, it was A or B equipment that were being installed. So as Mr. Guérin said before, 50 accommodations could be instrumented and can show that the first electricity consumption item is code for food. And this was mentioned before, and we'll have to focus on this in the future years. For the other commercial buildings, air conditioning is number one in the consumption profile of commercial buildings. Then we have offices, IT, professional activities. It's an important percentage for this item, electrical consumption item, and food and code for food also is quite significant, plus artificial lighting. Now let's do a focus study on electricity consumption in the industrial sector. The profile here is changing versus what we saw before, because as it was expectable for industrial sector, the items consuming the most of energy are linked to the feeding and the powering of the equipment, machines requiring electricity. Next, it's food code for food, 30% for the industry, and the rest is linked to the other usage in the industrial sector. Now I'm going to show you quickly a panel of the different actions that are implemented in Guadeloupe to act on our control of our energy demands and mainly electricity demand. Guadeloupe has specific frameworks, so we can have a lot of MD actions financed by the territorial compensation. These are funds fed from the CSP, which is funded by public electricity charges. So after some discussions with the energy regulations to finance isolation, solar protection, efficiency equipment, efficient lighting, and so on. I have to be quick, so we can reduce the level of consumption in all sectors mentioned before. As a balance, the results for the year 2022, it's 40 million of bonuses that have been given for different actions. And the most successful ones are the air system, the air changing systems. More than 80,000 of them, air changing system, air conditioning, efficient air conditioning. You see the figures, A3 plus is more than 17,000, almost 18,000 air conditionings, A3 plus in Guadeloupe. Then, and the rest is for the building energy isolation 400,000 square meters, and the lightning systems, lightning points with LED, 70,000 performing ones in Guadeloupe. Another item that I would like to put forward is the solar hot water. Over the last 10 years on our territory, we could install that 4,000 solar heat systems every year. Since then, thanks to a strong involvement of the Guadeloupe region and the support of all the incentives and aids with compensation framework and certificate of energy savings, we could increase these figures. And in 2022, as you can read it here, close to 20,000 thermal heat water heating system were installed. So it's better for our energy efficiency. This offer is quite recent, but you can observe that almost 600 of them have been installed to reduce the consumption by 2/3 almost versus the traditional heat water system. The breakdown of these actions and incentives, residential sector is benefiting the level of 80% of these aids. The other sectors are not forbidden, but there is some specification then for commercial and industrial sector. Now I'd like to talk to you about the regulations. It is true that the regional public authority of Guadeloupe can act and can have some laws on energy. And for the last 10 years now, they have implemented a regulatory framework based on efficiency performance, which is called RTG. It is based on 3 indicators of performance. First, the thermal comfort indicator. The second one is the energy demand indicator, mainly for the refreshing needs plus artificial lighting. And the last one, which is the most recent, with the latest update, it's an indicator linked to the energy used to produce hot water, and it's called PREX. These regulations have the advantage to have harmonized the level of efficiency performance between the existing buildings and the new buildings. From now on, you have a calculation basis which is unified to assess the energy performance of the existing buildings, plus a previous calculation of the expected energy efficiency of a building during its cycle life. And all of these data collected for the new buildings and the existing buildings are collected into this database for the Guadeloupe buildings, so we can have in real time a mapping of the energy efficiency of the existing buildings, whether old and new in Guadeloupe. And besides all these regulations, you have to know that the Guadeloupe territory, as well as the other islands belonging to Guadeloupe and defined into the French territory, benefit from another program called SEDZ, which are incentives to foster sober energy consumption with different budgets affected to them during the duration of validity of these projects. Okay, so I'm finished with my quick presentation on energy efficiency in Guadeloupe. Thank you very much, Mr. Osmar.